Welcome back to the channel, folks, and to what is my video submission to the great YouTube paint-off. Some of you folk may already be familiar with the channel Lack of Foresight Gaming. They've been in touch with content creators like myself to do a little paint competition, you know, just to get a bit of interaction with people who are doing similar things, which is a great idea. It's also a great idea because not only does it get us interacting, it gives you guys the chance to perhaps find out about channels who are doing things you're interested in, but YouTube hasn't passed them under your nose yet. Because, you know, trying to get established on YouTube can be very difficult, and even myself, having been on YouTube for I think 10 years, I'm not even really established even after that time. So there's a lot of content out there that maybe you would enjoy. So I'm going to take this opportunity not just to submit an entry for judging, but also to show you some of the other channels that are getting involved. And that's where I'm going to go on to next, before moving on to the painting submission and the guide that I've done to go with that. Let's start by looking at Lack of Foresight Gaming. Let's scroll down a list of the videos here to get an idea of what they're all about. So you can see they've got like live streams, you know, hobby hangouts. They've got battle reports. They've done a lot of Flames of War battle reports, but they do have other ones. You can see some Team Yankee, some Dystopian Wars. You can see terrain features there, Age of Sigmar. Unboxings of various kinds, you know, the various games that they play. I like to go through the products for you guys so you can get a look at them and decide if that's the way you want to go with your own purchases. So a nice wide range of videos, very relaxed presentation as well, lots of battle reports, and especially if you like your Flames of War. At the moment they've got a very strong Flames of War content, but it's getting wider and wider content as the time goes by. So Lack of Foresight Gaming. Over to Kitchen Wargamers now. So here I can see there is some bolt action, some black powder, very strong 28mm theme to these videos here, guys. You can see some Victory at Sea. There's some battle reports there. There's Bolt Action 2090. That could be interesting. Maybe taking the rule set onto a different time setting. You can see more Victory at Sea there. Some terrain features and some battle reports. Some very regular updates to the channel there as well, folks. So there certainly seems to be plenty to keep you going, especially if you're in that 28mm historical wargaming area. So there you go, Kitchen Wargamers, folks. Check them out. Now, Wargaming Noob Historical. Check the screenshot there for the spelling, guys. So let's see, we've got Test of Honor, we've got Bolt Action, we have got Battletech, Team Yankee, Flames of War. Lots and lots of unboxings there, folks. If you want to follow what's in the new releases, then these guys seem to be bringing out a lot of videos for you to review. Got some battle reports too, it would seem. They're going through sort of escalation campaign almost in Flames of War, increasing the points as they go. Lots more Battletech there too. So there you go, that's a good wide variety of things there, guys. There's got to be something in there for you to like. Same goes for all these channels, you know. As I've said before, subscribe, hit the like button for the content that you're enjoying, and you as a viewer, you know, you're going to get to see more of the kind of thing you like yourself. So let's get over to my entry into the great YouTube paint-off. Flames of War Paras, the new plastic para figures that are out there. Hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm getting at with my painting, where all the various elements of the miniature are nice and clearly defined. It's a bright finish, even though it's a camo. You know, a camo can be quite a disruptive thing. That's what it's supposed to do, but here I tried to make all the different components stand out against each other by using contrast between shading and highlights, using very small brushes as required. Hopefully you can see the faces there nice and clear, and that has all been done without washing or dry brushing. If you're familiar with my painting tutorials, you'll know what I'm doing, but if you're not, I've got a step-by-step coming up that will show you how I achieved this particular look. I've began by giving the whole figure an undercoat of German Camo black-brown. That black-brown will form the shade, internal shade as I would describe it. So if you imagine that's the shade around a pocket, or external shade, which would be the shade between different objects such as the trousers and the tunic. And now I am using medium grey as the base colour for the Denizen smock. When I'm applying this, if I was painting something else that wasn't camoed, I would be wanting to leave shade in all the folds, as you will see me doing on the trousers, where I'll be leaving some of the German Camo black-brown visible. As I'm going to be painting a camo all over this, I don't have to worry about that, because when all the camo colours are on, I will paint in the shadow lines that I would wish to have on the figure. After 2 coats of the medium grey, I'm going to use flat earth to put on the first of the camo blotches. It's a nice saturated colour that has a good contrast against both the medium grey and the green that I'm going to be adding in the next step. Now you don't have to worry too much about the shape of these blobs, just make sure you've got enough space for the green that will also allow the base medium grey to be seen on the finished look. Now here we go with olive green. It's a nice bright green colour, and then I'm just adding it in, putting it beside the brown in some places and away from the brown in other places, you know, so it's basically a random patchwork, and that's really the only look that you need to get with this camo. And once again, making sure that you can still see enough of that base medium grey colour. Using an Army Painter Insane Detail brush, I am painting in shade lines around pockets, for instance, around hems, around collars, into the folds of the tunic, in the crook of the elbow, around the shoulders and such likes. And this way we're going to give it a bit of definition, the definition that we've lost by covering it in camo. That's, you know, what a camo is supposed to do, but when it's on the tabletop, it's better if we can see the shape of the figure as well as the colours of the camo. For the trousers, I am using English uniform. Now you'll see me applying it in a way that follows the folds and creases of the sculpt. We want to leave the deeper areas clear so that they're showing the German camo black-brown, and that way we're starting to create some depth on the figure that will really help it pop on the tabletop. And like most colours that you're going to apply, folks, you're going to want to do 2 coats, even if it's just a little touch-up. Don't try and do it all in a one-er. Just paint the lot that you're doing, the batch that you're doing, and then go back and give it another little sweep and touch it up as required. But you'll see there we've got some nice shade as well as a nice solid coat of main colour ready for the highlight. And the highlight colour is Panzer Ace's Old Wood. I'm using the Insane Detail brush again, and I'm applying this highlight colour as much as possible directly beside any of the shade. So that gives you the greatest contrast. It goes from the lightest point to the darkest point on the miniature, and that provides the real depth that is most visible when it's on the tabletop. It's not just about catching the highest point, and then at the same time you can pick out such things as pockets and hems. Staying with the Panzer Ace's Old Wood, I'm now going to start working on gaiters, webbing, packs and such likes. And I'm just going to be using this one colour for all of them. Green grey is also an option you can use for this, but it doesn't stand out that strongly against the Denison Smock. Now you can see I'm very carefully finding the shape of the figure. In each point I am just painting that. If you imagine, I'm just painting that little point. You can see, paint that fold in the pack, go around the back, paint that, move to the other side, paint the strap, paint the top, and I'm just working around in that way, kind of filling in the shapes of the miniature, leaving little, and I mean little, small amounts of shade between all these internal areas so that it doesn't look too dark. We want shape, but we don't want darkness. We want a bright finish. And it's just a question of carefully working all the way around, and as required, go in and do a second coat. The highlight colour is Iraqi Sand, and here I'm going to be mostly just hitting the edges because these are defined shapes, if you understand. They're a backpack or a water bottle, all these kind of things. So it's about hitting those outside edges where it's going to be once again set against the external shade for that area, and that way it will help it pop out from the rest of the shape of the miniature without you having to get overly bright, because you have created a nice contrast. And that's what we're really after, folks. Light beside dark, so that the shape of the figure is clear to all, even when you're seeing it in a base on the tabletop. I'm painting handles, tools and such like with a brown colour, and any kind of generic kind of brown colour will do. Here I've used German Camo medium brown, and I will give it a highlight with orange brown, because that's a nice contrast, the sort of the orange colour against the darker brown. But you know, there are many different colours at work in this respect, so try this combination or something else that might suit your own selection of paints. Now, grey and metallic areas, I start by giving them a coat of black paint. Then the boots, for instance, areas that are basically supposed to be black, I will give a coat of German grey, leaving the black as the shade colour. And you can see me doing that along with the metallic components on the rifle. And then for those metallic components, I'm going to go to London grey with the very small brush again, and just give it some very fine little lines to suggest the glint of metal, but still keeping them looking dark. For the rifle stock, I'm going to start with a coat of flat earth. I will be moving on to add a coat of Panzerace's new wood. Now, in most cases you're going to be using 2 coats of paint anyway, so it's a very small area. It doesn't need a lot of work, but by using a coat of flat earth to begin with, you've created the opportunity to show some highlights when you then go to add a coat of the new wood to it, so that this small little item can have a nice visual impact. For the rifle strap, I'm going to use German Camo beige. Not only does that colour contrast with the background colours of the figure, it is also a relatively good colour, and a relatively close colour to the kind of material that they would use for rifle straps, a cheap woven kind of material. Now I'm going to highlight that with Deck Tan. It's a very bright highlight, so don't go overboard with it, but as the base colour itself is bright, a brighter highlight will help define the edges. I've given the helmet camouflage cover a coat of US Field Drab, and now I am picking out all the little lumps and bumps that would represent woven material stuck into the covering. I'm picking that out with German Camo black brown so that I can define the colours nice and strongly that are going to go on top of that. Now incidentally, you can do this in reverse. The colours that I am using, instead of using the US Field Drab as a base colour, you can use greens. Now I'm going to start with, as far as the greens go, the green blotches, it's going to be medium olive, and then I'm going to give it a highlight of olive green. That's the same colour on the camel, and that's just going to be a very small highlight just to catch the eye and just give it a little bit of depth. The US Field Drab elements are looking a little bit dull and flat, so using very small amounts of Iraqi sand. I'm going in and just basically painting a few dots and a few lines, creating the impression of a texture, so that we're getting a nice contrast between that fairly saturated yellow with the greens of the camouflage blotches. The base colour for the skin is also going to be the shade colour for the skin, and that's saddle brown. So I'm giving a general coat all over any skin areas. I'm not worrying about leaving any internal shade, for instance between fingers or such likes. I might leave the eyes looking a bit darker, but you can just put this all over. It's a nice warm base colour that gives a good shade in itself. Then the main colour for the skin is, I use Game Colour Bronze Fleshtone. Any kind of similar mid Fleshtone will do, guys. If you, whatever you've got in your collection should be fine, so don't worry yourself too much if you don't have that particular colour. You can see me just going along and painting the fingers individually, the backs of the hands, and then when it comes to the face, you've got the brows, the nose, the top lip, bottom lip, chin and cheekbones. And that's how I tend to paint faces. I kind of work from the top down and create all the features of a face that the eye recognises. And if you leave the shade in between them all, then even from a distance it's nice and clearly visible. And then the final highlight, and I use just a small amount of this, and that's just flat flesh. So I put it on the high points such as the nose, the lips, the chin, underneath the eyes, because your cheekbones will catch light, and also onto the fingers, like the ends of fingers and the tops of hands. And then to finish off, any kind of brown colour, leather brown would do, for instance, to paint the straps. And that is the main figure finished, but I'll just take a minute to tell you about the hats. Now, the forage cap, burnt cadmium red is the main colour for this. I will leave some of the brown as internal shade. There won't be much, but it'll mostly be around the edges of the helmet, the edges of the cap. Then for highlight, I'm just going to take red and paint some little red lines. You want a dark finish here. You know, this cap wasn't a bright red thing, so don't be tempted to go overboard. And for the badge as well, I've not painted it here, but you just want to basically paint a little cross using something off-white such as deck tan. So there you go, folks. There's my submission, my British Paras painting guide to go with it, and a good look at some of the other channels that are also going to be submitting their own entries and creating their own videos. So please go over, check them out, check the playlist, have a look at a few videos. If you like what you see, please subscribe. And you know, the more likes you give to a particular type of video compared to another, that might, you know, help guide us content creators onto the kind of things that you, the viewers, want to see. And that's a wrap from me. Thanks to the guys at Lack of Foresight Gaming for organising the whole thing. Thanks to the other guys for contributing, the other content creators. Thanks to you guys for watching. Thanks to the subscribers, and I'll see you all again on the next one.